In this tutorial we're going to cover the Photoshop pen tool, brush tool, and clone tool. So you should have this file right here, the PS pen tool exercise PSD, and it's just some shapes that we're going to use to practice outlining around. There's several ways to make a selection, but by far the most I use, or what I use the most, is the pen tool to make a path. It saves small files, it can be used as a vector, and it's highly editable. So it's right here, the pen tool, or P, and we're going to move in here. I'm moving in by holding Command and the space bar down at the same time. We want to get fairly close so we can be accurate with our outlining. Left clicking will give me an anchor point, and if I left click again, I get an anchor point and I get an outline or a path. And if I keep straight clicking, all I get are straight lines between the two. Now if I come up to a curve, now I'm sliding this around by holding the space bar. That gives me the hand to slide around. Now I have to decide where along here I'm going to click, but I'm going to click down and hold and drag, and that gives me this handle that changes the direction of that straight line. A Bezier curve is what that's called. And then knowing where to click and drag takes practice. Okay, now what I can do also is I can change things up by pushing the Command key down. It gives me this little white arrow. I can move anchor points. I can move my handles out here, making them longer or shorter, moving them around. I can also move the line itself and drag it either direction to get closer to the line that I'm trying to outline. Okay, and that's by holding the Command key down. Alright, so I'm just going to move around this object. The idea about outlining with the pen tool is that you'll have a smoother finished product if you use fewer points. So you don't want to use a lot of points. You don't want to go around here and go click, 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 because there's a lot of points and it's going to start looking like a stop sign, too many straight segments together. So what I would prefer you do is try to make use of the curves, Bezier curves, by clicking and dragging and practicing doing that until you get better and better at it. And before long, you'll be flying through outlines. I promise. So here I've come to a point where I want to go back this direction, but if I click down here, it gives me this little loop because it wants to continue to go along the line where that handle is. So I'm going to get rid of that handle by holding the Option key this time and clicking on the anchor point. That gets rid of the handle in the direction that you were moving, and now it's just a straight endpoint. Alright, space bar to move, straight click, click and drag, click, Command key to move that handle out a little bit farther. I'm going to come over here and click here. Now I purposely left this out to show you how to add an anchor point. I can add an anchor point by rolling over the line. I'm not holding any keys down. It just sees the line and wants to put an anchor point there. It also puts in these nice handles for you to mess around with later. If you want to get rid of a point, you roll over a point and click on it and it's gone. So I got a little plus sign, I roll over it again, I get a minus sign. Okay? Hold the Command key down, drag that down where it should be, and that's how I created that curve. Alright? So there's several ways to outline any shape really, but the fewer points you can use the better. So if I go like this, that's one way to do it. By clicking a curve here and then clicking out here on the endpoint. And I can select all these endpoints by Command again, select those, anchor points are gone, start down here again. If I go right to here and click and drag, that's one less point to make that curve. Then I'm going to Option click to get rid of that guy, come up here, curve again, Option click, move up here, curve again, Option click. I'm just going to work my way around the rest of this. Again, it takes some practice as to know where to click to make these things happen. Okay? So don't get discouraged, but do practice, because you never know. Could be a quiz on this. Okay, now I get this little, when I'm ready to close my path, I get this little circle. I can still click and drag even when I click that last one, and that completes my outline. I'm going to go over to paths where there was nothing before. When I started clicking, it created this working path. So if I click off of it, it's not selected anymore. And if I start cutting another path, my other path is gone. I mean, it's gone and you can't get it back. So in order to save that, you need to name it. Double click on it, give it any name, leave it the default name, whatever you want to do. But that way, when you start cutting another path, it doesn't delete the old one. Okay? So to make a selection out of this path, I'm going to use the command key. I'm going to hover over the mask in the path plane, and that's how I make my selection. Now I can fill that with a color if I want to, or color correct inside that mask because I have a selection made. Alright, I'm going to deselect. I'm going to come down here. I'm going to cut this one that has a hole in it. Straight clicks, clickety click. Now I want to start curving, so I'm going to click and drag, and one more click, and then command key and drag that guy back down where it should be. Over here, I think I cut this with 2. And you can just have a good time making paths like so. Now when I make a selection of this, it leaves a hole in the middle, so I can do that the same thing. When you have an overlap of path, and it will let you do that, you get some strange results. In this case, I mean, this is something you wouldn't normally do. You wouldn't do something like this, but that's the selection that it makes right there, and that's the fill. But try not to overlap your paths. It's better to cut this in 2 shapes, this side and then cut this side as a separate mask. Alright, now we lost our other mask. See, I didn't save it. I want that other mask because it was a good one, so I'm Command Z. I'm actually Option Command Z to go back in space, or I can use this guy and go back to New Work Path, and that brought me back to here. So here I can save that now. Yay. Of course, I've lost all the work forward from that point, but it wasn't that good of work anyway. Okay, that's the pen tool. Now we're going to go to the paintbrush, and I'm going to grab our parfait image, drag it onto Photoshop. It opens up here. Alright, get on in there. There we go. The paint tool is this little paintbrush guy right here. Okay, and you select a color by using the option, which changes my paint tool into an eyedropper tool. So if I wanted to select this red color, I could click there. If I want to select this black color, I could click here. And what's going on with that big circle around it is it's showing my newly selected color on the top, the last selected color on the bottom, and a gray circle around the outside, a neutral gray circle, so I can see what compare the two. Okay, so it's going to paint with whichever color is your foreground color, this right here. So when I make a selection, watch my foreground color change to a different color. Okay, I can also click and drag and roll around, and then wherever I let go, that's the color it's going to stick with. So there's the foreground color too. In this case, I want to paint out some of this shelf. Well, that's way too small of a brush. I can change my brush size by going up here and changing size, dragging that bigger. Hardness is how soft the edge is. So in this case, that works pretty well, but when I get up next to the glass, I don't want it to be soft. So I can change the hardness to 100 or anywhere in between. Let's change that size down smaller so that I can do some more detail edge work, which is still, this is why path tool, this is why the pen tool works better. I can make a selection of this and just fill it with black. It would look nice. Okay, So anyway, that is the brush tool. Let's see, what else do you want to know about the brush tool? You can click or hold the Option key down and click in the field and get that same dialog box that's up here. That's really quick. And then when you start painting, it disappears. Or to change the brush size on the fly, the right and left bracket keys, those two keys that are right next to the P, the right bracket key will make your brush larger. And watch up here, as I push the left bracket key, see how it makes it smaller? Okay, so that's a quick way to change between the two. All right. Next, the clone tool. Oh, and I did it again. See, I cloned right on this image. So I'm going to go back in my history and click right here, and that's where I started. We're going to grab the clone tool, which is looks like a rubber stamp. It's right under the paintbrush. And it works the same way, basically. I'm going to hit Option, and that's going to be my source, and I will start painting, and that's my destination. So click Option, let go of Option, move over, start painting. Now the default for this tool, and there's a little clone source dialog box here, or pane. You can go up to Window and find that if you don't have it. The default for this is Show Overlay, which puts this annoying thing on the screen. So when I click here and move up here, it shows me what I have loaded in the brush. And once I start painting, it locks those two things in. But for me, that is just irritating, so I shut it off. You may see it. If you don't want it, the clone source is where you shut that off. Okay? The size of the brush works the same way. Let me close that up. You can change the size of the brush by right and left bracketing. You can change the hardness of the brush by using this dialog box, the size of the brush by using this, or choose from any of these other brushes. They're fun, play around with them. If I wanted to clone that shelf continuously back over my junk there, I would click here, let go, click, and now it just clones that direction so I can extend my shelf. Alright? That's the way cloning works. So, I think I covered all of it. Alright, we'll see you in the next video.